This is CBC Here and Now.
They cut a ribbon at the port of Argentia today, signaling another chapter in the links between this port and the United States. But this time, it's about the global energy transition.
We are going to continue to be a powerhouse in the world energy transition.
The eyes of the world are on this port, and it's for the same features that attracted the Americans back in 1941.
That story coming up.
Back half of the roof is gone.
2 Newfoundlanders survive a tornado near Ottawa. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, you could say there's a clean energy revolution underway in the United States with offshore wind projects at the center of this strategy, and the Port of Argentia is preparing to play a role. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
You might say it's a pipe dream come true for the Port of Argentia. Massive wind turbine foundations called monopiles will begin arriving here next month from Europe. So big, we're talking the length of not one but 2 NHL ice surfaces, up to 2,200 tons. That is going to require a special purpose-built vehicle like this in order to move them. They were celebrating this new transatlantic partnership at the port today. 2 Dutch companies have inked a deal with the port to use the former U.S. naval base. One that will make Argentia North America's first and only monopile marshalling port. In a month or so, a heavy lift ship like this one will arrive in Argentia, carrying the first of dozens of monopiles that are being manufactured in Germany and Denmark. The pipes will then be loaded onto this special transporter and slowly moved to the marshalling yard. Eventually, the monopiles will be transported to the United States, where they will be used in the construction of offshore wind farms off the northeast coast, all part of a strategy by the U.S. government to transition away from fossil fuels. President Joe Biden has set a goal of installing 30 gigawatts of offshore wind by the end of this decade, enough to power 10 million homes. Plenty of hype today as crowds gathered. And this man raved about Argentia.
The fact that it's en route together, it's simply the best place to go. Very few other locations could match the situation as we found it here.
Why is Argentia such a prized location? Because of its large dock, an ice-free, deep-water port, and plenty of space a short distance away on which to store these massive pipes. In this case, 70 hectares, the base's former runway. About 10 million in port upgrades have been completed in recent months, all meant to handle the massive weight and size of steel pipes that will stand higher than 21 stories. The economic spin-offs have not gone unnoticed. Local companies doing the upgrades, and a few dozen longer-term jobs when the monopiles start arriving.
But I think we've put our flag on the map, and we are going to continue to be a powerhouse in the world energy transition.
You know that the eyes of the world are on this port, and it's for the same features that attracted the Americans back in 1941 to establish their base here to defend the North Atlantic.
The port will play a vital role in the energy transition of our neighbour to the south.
And storing the pipes in a Canadian port also allows these European companies to steer clear of strict U.S. coastal shipping rules. Ships carrying 4 monopiles at a time will arrive about twice a month, a process that will take about 2.5 years. But the chatter here today is that this is only the beginning, that Argentia has caught the attention of the renewable energy sector, and its strategic importance will be in demand for years to come. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Argentia.
2 women originally from this province say they're lucky they weren't injured or worse after a tornado hit their house near Ottawa. Charlene Burnside and Helen Feltham were inside this house in Barrhaven. The tornado knocked out windows and ripped the roof off buildings. They were able to get down into the basement, but the house was seriously damaged.
As I stood up, the whole window just blew right in on the couch. It was terrifying.
And the screen from the window landed an inch away from her. And there was glass and insulation flying everywhere, so we immediately just got to the basement.
We'll hear just how much damage their house sustained. My conversation with them is coming up later in the show.
Yeah, lots of severe weather in Ontario over, yesterday. Not so much across the island. We do have lots of heat in place, and we'll continue to see that as we head through the next couple of days. But as we head through tomorrow, special air quality statement in effect for Nain and vicinity. And the reason for that is the wildfire smoke from Quebec is going to head towards northern Labrador as we head through to Saturday afternoon, and then eventually into the evening hours as well before that is all said and done. Fire risk is fairly significant up across parts of Labrador. Well, extreme for parts of Labrador, high or even moderate. And then we're seeing that across the island as well. So with the nice weather this weekend, definitely be aware of the fire hazard if you are having any fires this weekend with these temperatures. Look at them today, 29 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 26 in Cartwright. Temperatures are starting to climb across the island as well, but we do have those heat warnings in place. Some areas may see the thermometer reach 30 degrees. I'll get into those details when I come back.
Wow, thanks, Ash. Well, people are being warned of yet another scam, this one targeting those with student loans. The warning comes from the Department of Education, which says there are fraudulent emails being sent about student loan forgiveness. Students are told to call a number within a set time or their file will be closed. That won't happen. Anyone who gets an email like that should not respond and instead contact Government Student Financial Services Division. Well, mental health advocates have shared their thoughts on government's work to improve mental health services in the province. Now, another advocate says services in Labrador are still severely lacking, especially for those dealing with addictions issues. And the advocate also says the new mental health unit set to open in Happy Valley, Goose Bay later this year won't help with that issue.
6 beds is not enough. One, there's no detox up here in the first place, not in Lab City, not in Wabush, not in Goose Bay. 6 beds doesn't even scratch the surface of the addictions issues in Labrador. That's all over Labrador. Like that was one of their big things that they said they accomplished was the Waterford Replacement Hospital, outside the Health Science Center, and 6-bed mental health unit. 6 beds is a joke. I could fill 6 beds walking down my street with people who probably need it.
An environmental group is in the province to document the capelin rolling. They're also advocating for the federal government to stop a commercial capelin fishery because the fish stock is in the critical zone. Here now's Heather Gillis reports.
It's an age-old tradition, catching capelin as they spawn, roll and die on the beach each year. Environmental group Oceana is in the province to watch the phenomenon unfold. They say this is the type of fishery they support, not the commercial capelin fishery, which is for export. Marine scientist Jack Daly would like to see that paused.
Capelin are what we call a forage fish. So they're really that fish that transfers the energies from the microscopic plankton up to northern cod, puffins and whales. Capelin are so important, so vitally important, especially to the rebuilding of northern cod. There's been studies that have shown the direct connection between cod rebuilding and capelin abundance. So that's why we really focus on this fish specifically.
Daly says his group is aiming to preserve and rebuild the fish stock, which the Department of Fisheries and Oceans says is in the critical zone. In a statement, the department says this year's assessment shows the capelin biomass is stable. They say the impact of fishing is minimal compared to natural predators the fish face, like cod, fish, and seabirds. They also say the catch limit is at its lowest level ever, calling it a balanced approach.
There was no rationale for that decision on this capelin quota. This is the same quota we've now had for 3 years. While in those 3 years, we've had great advances in our understanding of the capelin stock. And we've been, in the Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada has been able to assess capelin as in the critical zone for the first time in 30 years. That essentially means the population is in an unhealthy state and is limited ability to rebuild.
Daly would like this country to do fisheries management like Norway or Iceland and pause fisheries for a few years when stocks get low.
The way that they manage fisheries there is that when capelin abundance is low, they pause it for a few years. They let that abundance grow back up into a healthy state, and then when there's enough to feed the ecosystem, that's when the fishers engage. When they are able to do that, they're actually able to have quotas far higher than we are. What we're doing instead is fishing a stock at this low level for 30 years, and that's resulted in actual ecological and physiological change.
Daly says the fish are spawning later, maturing faster, and live shorter lives. Meanwhile, DFO says in the fall they'll start developing a rebuilding plan for the small silverfish, and they'll consult with industry, Indigenous groups, academics, and others. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, how many of those small silver fish do you think you could eat in one sitting? Probably haven't thought about it, but politicians faced off against seniors today in a capelin eating contest in Witless Bay to crown a champion at a festival hosted by a local seniors' home. The CBC's Todd O'Brien was there.
Oh, well, I'm back in the lane again, back where it all began, yeah, I'm back.
Such an exciting day. One of the most exciting days of the summer here in Witless Bay is Alderwood's Capelin Festival. We pay homage to the little fish that has a great impact in our community. So today we have all sorts of politicians here, we have families here, the seniors are in fighting form. They're up competing against the Minister of Transportation, John Abbott, just took the victory with one of our seniors for the jello eating contest. We have the pie eating contest. And then the most exciting moment of the day is when we have the capelin eating contest. And this is when things get real. This is the one that matters. The other two competitions are just warm up. Up here, it's who wins the capelin is the real king and queen of this event. So today we have, once again, Ken McDonald is going around with his shirt on, taunting the seniors. He wins every year. Every year Ken McDonald wins this. But this year, we've got a strategy. We're not going to meet Ken just empty-handed with no plan. We've stacked the senior deck with a crowd from Trepassey and Portugal Cove South. And these guys can eat, the only thing they eat more of is bake apples up that way. So they are here to win.
Is there a strategy behind winning something like this, in terms of eating capelin?
Well, I think I think first of all, you have to love the capelin. Number one, people who sign up are people who love capelin. To like the capelin is important, right? Number one. And number two is just what the seniors do is really they put as many in their mouth as they can and just grind down and go for the gullies, as we say. Go for the gullies.
Where do these capelin come from?
Actually, they just come here from Witless Bay. They're Witless Bay's, of course, it's in Witless Bay. We keep everything real. Those capelin just rolled about 200 feet down the road. So we went down and got them, and we had a big fry up. And now today we're serving capelin in little like hot dog containers. Lots of places do hot dogs, but we're serving deep fried capelin here today.
In terms of the residents, what do they take from all this?
Well, I mean, to sit here, we love listening to the music and dancing, and that's so much fun. But really, the bonds of community and family are built when we laugh together. So when we get all up and the seniors are cheering for each other, and they have an opposition, and they're up against, like I said, the politicians. There's a certain satisfaction in beating your local MP, especially when you're 92. You kind of still got it. You hold your head up and you wear these medals like, I still got it, right?
Fantastic. Go for the gullies. That's a new one for me. I haven't heard that one before. And if you're wondering how they did, well, they do have a new champion. Gary Malloy beat out MP Ken McDonald in eating the most capelin. Congratulations. Well, the second annual Come Home Queer Festival is happening in Broad Cove this weekend. There are various events, including a trivia night, a flag raising, a parade, as well as a sneak peek screening of the group's new Come Home Queer documentary.
Last year was Come Home year for Newfoundland and Labrador, and there was all kinds of announcements and funding available to do celebrations, and I thought, who's not going to feel comfortable coming home? And as a lesbian, I thought, there are a lot of queer folks who left Newfoundland and Labrador years ago when it was really difficult to be out. And I thought, let's do Come Home Queer.
We've come a long way in terms of people having queer folk in their family or as friends. And the level of acceptance, I think, has really grown, and I think we need to celebrate that.
There's so much happening that causes people to distance themselves from each other, and any occasion where you can get people together and seeing each other as human beings, I think is a good thing.
For our young people, this is so important, because for young folks who are queer, to know that there is a loving, supportive, accepting environment or community. I think that's so important.
It's the youth that are going to make the change, and they're not going to sit in their classrooms or sit in their jobs and not be included and have their seat at the table. And that's why I'm so happy. These are 2 students that we have from Broadco.
I think it's a pretty great weekend to have in my community, and to know that everyone here is welcome and feel safe here is really comforting to know about my own community.
See, that's what it's about.
But I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful to bring people around, strange people around, let them see our community, have a talk and be friends with one another. I think it's great. I think it's great.
So often the positive role models are not out there. So we need to do that. We need to say, it's okay. It's okay.
So when I left the island, I started realizing the shortage that are out there for low brass specifically.
Low brass, high bar. A little later on Here and Now, meet the Torbay musician making big moves at Juilliard's School of Music.
Well, there's still a few showers working their way across the island, some across Labrador as well, but the weekend will feature lots of heat and humidity. We'll talk all about it when I come back.
Well, it was a beautiful day in our neck of the woods in St.
certainly
John's.
was.
Lots of sunshine. It was a little bit windy earlier, but yeah, overall, just a great way to start the weekend.
It certainly is. Yeah, we haven't really seen a whole lot of wind. It's just breezy really out there, not too much to speak of. But yeah, the heat, the humidity you certainly feel. I know we can feel it here in the studio too. Yep, lots more of that this weekend. Let's take a look at where we're sitting today. So 23 degrees in St. John's. Temperatures pretty much similar right across the board. As you head towards the west coast, northern peninsula, temperatures start to creep up a little bit more into the mid to upper teens, 20s rather. The mid to upper 20, let me try that again. Mid to upper teens will be found along the south coast of the island, as we see typically when we see the southerly flow. That's what we see. And up across Labrador, the heat is on. 29 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay today and 27 in Mary's Harbor. So there's a lot more where this came from. In fact, the heat is just going to build as we head through the day tomorrow. So we're talking about temperatures near 30 degrees across portions of Labrador, even central, and may see that it continues as we head into Sunday, pretty much across the board into Monday, and even into Tuesday. We're going to see that heat continue. Same thing as we head into Wednesday, although the majority of the heat across Labrador will head towards southeastern portions. So Environment Canada has a heat warning in place. Just disappeared, but it's from Happy Valley Goose Bay all the way through to the coast and then across the island as well. Mainly at this point, central portions of the island, but you are looking at daytime temperatures somewhere between 28 and 30 degrees, humidex value near 35, and your overnight lows aren't going to move much either, only 17 to 19 degrees. So that means we're not really going to see a whole lot of relief from that heat either. Here's where you're sitting now. So it feels like 25 in St. John's, down to 20 degrees as on the thermometer. But Badger feels more like 28. 31 is what it feels like in Corner Brook and Deer Lake. And then 34 is what it's feeling like in Happy Valley Goose Bay at the moment. So certainly, if you are planning on being outside this weekend, make sure you stay hydrated. Try to stay out of the sun. That will certainly help with that heat. And check in on your neighbors as well. As far as what's going on satellite radar right now, not a whole lot up across Labrador, but there are some showers and some thunderstorms moving through Lab West. That risk will continue for the next couple of hours. Once we get past midnight, most of those showers should end. And then still some showers across the island as well. Now along the south coast of the island, almost 35 millimeters of rain fell in Burgeo today, but that is pretty much said and done as far as those heavy showers are concerned. We may see a few more heavy showers lingering for the northern peninsula over the next couple of hours. In eastern Newfoundland, you may pick up a few sprinkles through the overnight as well. That line of showers and thunderstorms will continue to move east across Labrador and then eventually taper off altogether as we get into at least the first half of tomorrow morning. Temperatures are going to stay mild across the island as well, 12 to about 18 degrees overnight. Warmest temperatures will be found in Happy Valley Goose Bay and Cartwright. Again, 19 degrees is your overnight low tonight. And then as we head into tomorrow, the weekend looking pretty nice. We'll likely see some cloud cover to start tomorrow. Eventually the skies will clear, especially for eastern, or at least the Avalon. Tomorrow afternoon we should see lots of sunny skies. Maybe the chance of a few showers through central, west coast as well will be a general clearing trend. And then Labrador, you're looking at just the chance of a few showers into the afternoon periods. But that's pretty much it. Your temperatures again tomorrow will stay hot. Even though these are the temperatures mid to upper 20s, your humidex values will be in the 30s pretty much across the board tomorrow. A bit of a breezy south wind around 20 kilometers per hour, which will be welcome for sure. Along the south coast, again, fog, drizzle, and temperatures in the teens. Labrador, you're looking at 29, 30 degrees tomorrow for most. Again, humidex values will likely be in the mid 30s. We'll talk about the rest of your weekend forecast and look ahead to next week when I come back. Well,
Well, the cleanup continues in the South Ottawa suburb of Barrhaven after a tornado touched down yesterday afternoon. One person was injured and around 125 homes were damaged. One of those homes belongs to a person originally from this province. Charlene Burnside and her mother Helen Feltham are from Glovertown originally. They were home when the tornado touched down in Barrhaven, and they join us now from her sister's house about 15 minutes away from Barrhaven. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure, indeed.
Well, it must have been such a scary experience for you both. How are you both doing today?
Okay, we're still processing. In the fury of it all, it was just go, 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 do what needed to be done. But now that, we're kind of just trying to settle in elsewhere, it's kind of hits a bit harder now. It's like as the time goes by, because I think the initial shock has maybe worn off a little bit. But now it's oh my goodness, the incredible amount of work that we have to do to get back into our house is a little bit overwhelming.
Wow.
But we're alive, we're here.
Can you kind of walk us through what happened? I have never experienced a tornado before. I'm having a hard time imagining what it was actually like. Can you tell us what happened?
It was very quick. Mom and I had gone out in the morning to do some shopping, grocery store, whatever. And we cut our trip short because it was like we just wanted to get home because my son, who's 12, was at home. So we're like, let's go on home now, and anything else we need to do, we'll go out later. So we're home for about half an hour, I think. And the color just changed. It was strange. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but the color of the sky was just weird. So I walked out to my front door to take my chairs off my front step and my flowers, and I got one chair inside, and I picked up my flowers to bring them in, and a piece of roof just blew by the front of our house.
Wow.
So I immediately shut the front door, called for my son who was upstairs, get to the basement immediately. There's a tornado. And as I'm walking to the living room to get Mom, who was sitting in her chair, our living room window just imploded. And the screen from the window landed an inch away from her. And there was glass and insulation flying everywhere. So we immediately just got to the basement then. But by then, of course, it was all over. So it was just gathering our thoughts in the basement. I left my son and my mother down there, and he helped her through it. He was so brave. He got her through it. Bunch of animals in the house, so I went back up to look for the animals, but then I realized it was over. So we just then emerged from the basement cautiously and went to the backyard, and that's when we saw the extent of the damage.
Helen, can you tell me what it was like for you? Because you were sitting right next to the window when it just burst. What was that like?
It was terrifying, Carolyn. I was just sitting there, and the colors, everything started to change, and everything was just coming together, getting really black. And that's when I stood up, and just as I stood up, the whole window just blew right in on the couch. Never in a lifetime did I think I would live to see anything like that. It was the scariest thing ever I saw in my life, and I hope I never see it again. It was terrifying.
And the damage caused in such a short amount of time. Can you tell us what you found when you walked outside the house and looked around?
So the first thing I looked at through the broken window was the greenhouse that we just built this year in memory of my dad, actually, because he had a greenhouse back in Newfoundland, so we wanted to do that here for Mom this year. So that was the first thing we noticed, that the plastic was all torn off the greenhouse. And then when we went outside, the barbecue was gone across, and somebody's bike was in our backyard, and all kinds of just toys and equipment from other yards. And then when we turn and look at the house, the upstairs windows were gone in the master bedroom and bathroom. We could see from the bottom that a lot of the roof was gone, but we didn't see the full extent until the insurance person came out with the drone, so the roof is destroyed. After the storm, there was a bunch of rain, so then we could hear the water running through our walls. And then that started to come through the dining room and the kitchen fixtures. It's pretty bad shape, but it's all just stuff. We all got out. We have several pets. Everybody's fine. Everything is going to be okay.
Hi, I'm Adam Walsh, host and producer of The Signal. We are in Flat Bay because we brought the show here to talk about the annual Bay St. George Powwow. We wanted to talk about the prep, the festivities, all the different things to do, and we also spoke about the community. So here are some of the folks we spoke to earlier today. I've got my main guest here today, artist Nelson White. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome to Flat Bay.
You want to describe what's around us right now?
Well, what's around us right now is the traditional powwow grounds. So right now is kind of a beehive of activity. People are setting up vendor booths. Staff are making sure the field is clean for dancers. There's the arbor area, which the drum group plays at, as well as their traditional teepees set up, as well as people selling merchandise and food. And so it's kind of, if people have been to the regatta, it's kind of regatta with much more culture and much better regalia.
Amazing. There's you were working on a project in the lead up to this, and it's about
Yes.
to be set up, I think.
Yeah, it's about to be set up. In a lead up to this, I was asked by the Powwow committee here to paint a teepee. So what I wanted to do is, again, trying to bring that sense of community. I made it into a community project. So I came out probably about a month ago, and we laid out the teepee in the stadium, and the entire community came by and painted. I had over 60, 70 people come by and paint parts of the teepee.
Powwow is a celebration of who we are, a celebration of the community, how beautiful it is, and we get to share what we have and what we've known all our lives.
What was the I've seen some reactions, I'll just call it light teasing on social, like on Facebook, from folks in the community. What's the reaction been since everyone found out you're a new senator?
It's been great. It's been a bit overwhelming. Everyone's been so supportive, but Flat Bay is a community that has always been supportive of anything and everything that we've done, myself individually and all of us as a community. So it's been fun.
To get that call for you, for everything you've done in your life, and to be from this community, what does that mean for you?
I think for me it's a privilege and certainly an honor, and I'm very grateful to be appointed to the Senate because for me it's about seeing our faces in all these places. As a Mi'kmaq woman growing up, very privileged, knowing who I was, I think it's important for the next generations to see us in all these places such as Senate, the public service, anywhere that we need to be, because I think that's how we affect change.
I'd love seeing the powwow come to life, because I've grown up in Flat Bay, and when I was a kid, not a lot of people came into our community or let their children come into our community. But seeing the powwow and the brightness, it brings people in. They see the community, they get to know Flat Bay, and they get to get rid of some of that stigma that was around before.
When was that shift, like in your memory?
I feel like it shifted once we started the powwow in 2005.
Yeah.
And it slowly has just gotten better, and now everyone knows Flat Bay for the bright, vibrant community it is.
So what does that say to you?
It's great.
Yeah?
It makes me really happy. It makes me really proud. I like doing and working for my community.
A musician from Torbay is making history by becoming Juilliard's first female trombone professor. The School of Music is world-renowned for its performing arts programs. Weekend AM host Heather Barrett is speaking with Hilary Sims this weekend on CBC Radio, and you're about to get a sneak peek of that conversation. We got Hilary to toot her own horn a little bit and tell us why this announcement is so significant.
Can you tell me a bit about why there are still so few women in the world of like the low brass instruments, when I talk about trombone and maybe tuba and those instruments?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I never realized there was a shortage when I was growing up here in Newfoundland. Every musical leader in my life was a woman. I mean, I went to school at St. Bon's, and I was with Vincenza Etchegary there, and I was in local choirs with Kelly Walsh and then Maria Conkey and Susan Quinn, and then I studied with Dr. Karen Bulmer at MUN. Like, my whole world was leadership in, women leaders. So when I left the island, I started realizing the shortage that are out there for low brass specifically. To be honest, I really can't answer the why so much right now, mainly because that's a massive can of worms. There's just a lot of stigma with women playing brass. But I also say that in Canada specifically, and in Toronto, there are a lot of female low brass players that are out there that are just absolutely phenomenal and doing wonderful things.
I can remember when I was, say, a teenager in the 1980s and playing in school bands and university bands and community bands. Most of the low brass players, like the trombonists and the tuba players, they were all men, guys, boys, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it was just that, boys were given the big loud instruments and women weren't. I just don't know.
I can only speak from my experience, and in my experience, I was never ever told I couldn't do anything. So in that respect, I just thought, okay, I'm going to do this next thing. And no one ever told me no. So I can't explain other people's experience with that. I do know that there's always the stigma of like women are smaller, they don't have enough lung capacity, their arms can't reach 7th position on the trombone. There's always the stigma of it all, but there's no reason why there should be a shortage, in my opinion.
In the 1990s, we have a very elaborate dress. She saw it in a magazine and wanted to make something similar.
From burnt islands to Port aux Basques, we're stepping through time with a new exhibit at the rooms that brides from across the province helped create. Well, you might recall back in May, we told you about a plea from the Rooms Provincial Archives. They were calling on brides from the 1980s and 90s to offer up their wedding dresses for a future exhibition. Well, many did answer that call, and the results are now on display in a new exhibit. We swung by the Rooms for a look.
We wanted to do an exhibition about the history of weddings in Newfoundland and Labrador. People often think of us as being on the edge of the world and not being connected to the outside world, when in actual fact, through the fashion that is expressed in these dresses, we are on the cutting edge. We are like super fashionable. Hi, I'm Maureen Peters, Curator of History here at the Rooms in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and today I'm going to show you the exhibit Tying the Knot, a history of weddings in Newfoundland and Labrador. So this dress is from 1823. It's the earliest wedding dress we have in the collection, and it's very indicative of the time period because it's got the empire waist and the puffy sleeves that kind of go out and give a broader shoulder look. And we have the 60s dress, and you can see again it's got the puffy time period. It would have been worn with a crinoline. This dress here was purchased in Port aux Basques for a bride in Burnt Islands. In the 1990s, we have a very elaborate dress. She saw it in a magazine and wanted to make something similar for herself, so she handmade it and did it all herself. And the detail work on this, you have to come in and see this and just see how much absolute beautiful detail work is done on it. I asked Gina how much time she spent making this dress, and she said it was between 60 and 80 hours of hand beating on this dress. So it was just an absolute act of love.
And I'm curious, when you look at the historical record, are we more likely to see the bride's material, that kind of material culture, from the well-to-do?
Yes, for sure. We definitely, the vast majority of the collection was from more of the wealthy families, and it was very St. John's heavy. So when I was getting the stories down, I was trying to get across Newfoundland and Labrador, and also try to get people from all different types of classes and different cultures and religious backgrounds. This was a soldier's gift from his interpreter. Gave him this when he was coming back to Newfoundland and Labrador to get married. His interpreter gave him an Afghan wedding dress as a gift. Tori and Stephen got married in a traditional Mi'kmaq ceremony, and Chief Msil Joe gave them ceremonial feathers during their weddings.
So when people come by and they walk through and they look at all these exhibits from yesteryear, what takeaway do you want them to have?
Well, this exhibit was really about kind of seeing the breadth of the collection and seeing what kind of interesting wedding stuff we have, and maybe be a bit influenced about if you're getting married next year. Maybe there's something in here that will inspire your own wedding, your own wedding dress, and kind of think about Newfoundland and Labrador traditions and how marriages have evolved over the time in Newfoundland and Labrador.
An extreme heat wave has much of southern Europe in its grip.
It's really, really hot today. It's 40 odd degrees.
And that's just on the ground in Athens. The summit of the Acropolis is even hotter. Officials have closed the site during the most dangerous hours of the day. In Croatia, more than 150 firefighters battled and defeated this overnight wildfire that destroyed a village. The heat wave is forecast to continue for several weeks, with the European Space Agency predicting intense temperatures. The Canadian Real Estate Association has changed its forecast on home sales this year. It's now expecting fewer people will buy homes than predicted in April. If the prediction is correct, it will lead to a 6.8% decrease in sales this year from last year. The reasons: higher interest rates and a lack of supply. The association is also predicting a very slight drop in prices. It says the average price for this year will be about $702,000. It expects prices to rise next year. Well, look what the cat brought in has a new meaning for a Winnipeg woman. Have a look at this. A coyote pup snuck in behind her cat and settled in a corner of the dining room. The woman says the animal appeared docile, but she kept her distance until conservation officials arrived. Recent wildlife activity within city limits has renewed calls to beware of coyotes and take precautions. It's Friday, so let's find out who's celebrating. Happy 52nd anniversary to Pamela and Duncan Granter. Enid and Maxwell Barrett of Manuals are celebrating their 67th anniversary. Congratulations to Gary and Barbara Edwards from St. Lawrence, who are celebrating their 50th anniversary today. Happy 50th anniversary also to John and Irma Moores of Corner Brook. Wishing Velma and Will Ball of Little Burnt Bay a happy 50th wedding anniversary. Happy 58th wedding anniversary to Jim and Marie Suley of Heart's Delight. It's a golden anniversary for Harold and Beverly Chalk from Dead Man's Bay. Happy 64th anniversary to Ruth and Harry Saunders from Cox's Cove, now living in Corner Brook. Congratulations to Jim and Bernice Hayes of Georgetown, Conception Bay. They're celebrating 54 years of marriage. It's a 50th anniversary for Byron and Teresa Adams. Congratulations. Happy 50th anniversary also to Elton and Teresa Main of Millertown and Bayvert, now living in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. 50th anniversary greetings going out to Gordon and Marion Churchill of Portugal Cove. Another 50th anniversary, congratulations to Harold and Beverly Ved of Mount Pearl. Happy 57th anniversary to Doris and Hector Keane of Wesleyville. Congratulations to George and Shirley Carter from Ramia on their 50th anniversary. Phyllis and Wayne Smith of Kelligrews are celebrating their 50th anniversary today. Happy 51st anniversary to Gloria and Boyd Morgan of Port de Grave. Wishing Max and Joan Burt of St. John's a happy 63rd anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Sandra and Wallace Hicks from Twillingate. Congratulations to Dennis and Shirley Gaslard of Port au Choix, celebrating their 54th wedding anniversary. Anniversary greetings going out to Linda and Greg Bradley of Eastport. They're marking 50 years of marriage. It's a 60th wedding anniversary for Percy and Loretta Benoit from the West Coast, now living in Avondale. Happy golden anniversary to Eric and Iris Layden of Red Bay, Labrador. Happy 64th anniversary to Edward and Martha Lehman of St. John's. Wishing Rita and Cletus Parsons of St. John's a happy 60th wedding anniversary. Happy 54th anniversary to Arthur and Eileen Card of Merritt's Harbor. Wishing Violet and Gordon Monk of St. John's a very happy 55th wedding anniversary. 60th anniversary greetings going out to Clyde and Marie Baker. Congratulations. Happy 50th anniversary to Georgie and Norm McPhee. Now to some birthdays. Bessie Lockyer from Lewisport just turned 90. Happy birthday. Very happy 98th birthday to Ellie Vokey of Spaniards Bay, now living in Carbonear. Happy 92nd birthday to Eileen Dwyer, who's also living in Carbonear. Happy 98th birthday to Vera Buck in Mount Pearl. And it's a 90th birthday for Molly Haynes, who is also living in Mount Pearl. Happy 90th birthday today to Eleanor Ryan of Brigus South, now living in St. John's. Wishing Jane Rousel of Port Blandford a happy 94th birthday. Happy 90th birthday to Violet Burt from Grand Falls, Windsor. Birthday greetings going out to Elsie Pendergast on her 91st birthday from her 6 children, 11 grandchildren, and 15 great-grandchildren. Birthday wishes going out to Austin Patey of River of Ponds, who just turned 91. Happy birthday to Rhoda Drake. She's celebrating her 90th birthday. Hope you have a wonderful day. Happy 90th birthday also to Janet Chalk in Musgrave Harbor. Birthday greetings going out to Clarence Taylor of Harbor Grace, now living in St. John's. He recently turned 92. A very happy 100th birthday to Marie Windsor of Mount Pearl, now living in Paradise. What a great picture. Another milestone, Elizabeth Betty Banfield is also turning 100. Best wishes from family and friends in Grand Falls, Windsor. And happy birthday to Emily Coates, who turns 101 tomorrow. She's from Glenwood and now lives in Gander. Greetings from her 14 children and over 200 grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. Wow, that's a lot.
200.
Yeah, you need to like rent out the Legion for Thanksgiving Day dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations once again to everyone who's celebrating. So this is definitely seems like if you're in the East at least a weekend to get out and do things, get outdoors.
Yeah, stay hydrated though, because it's going to be warm out there. Feel very humid out there as well. Let's take a look at what's going to happen. It's still going to be a bit unsettled, especially in the evening hours, but overall, our forecast is looking pretty nice. So expect a few showers as you head into the morning. And then for areas in southeastern Labrador, you're also looking at the chance of some showers by the time we get into Sunday morning. And that will really continue through a good chunk of the day on Sunday. Now, the west coast is looking a bit unsettled this weekend as well. So you're still looking at that chance of showers, and then up across northern portions of, rather the northern peninsula and along the south coast in that southerly flow. Unfortunately, going to hang on to the rain, drizzle, and fog for you. Temperatures pretty much just hot out there. 24 to 29 degrees across the island, across Labrador rather. Along the strait, a little cooler into the upper teens, and then between pretty much 20 and 30 degrees essentially across the island as well. Those humidex values as we get into Sunday will feel like the mid to upper 30s. Showers will be the story through the morning hours on Monday, and then increasing cloud again with some periods of rain moving in through the evening hours on Monday. As far as the island is concerned, mix of sun and cloudy periods at times, and also the chance of some showers as we get into late day for portions of central. Temperatures again, not really moving much, 24 to 27 or 28 degrees across the island. Labrador cooler up through Nain. You're only going to hover around 15 degrees on Monday, but the rest of the Big Land will be into the mid to upper 20s. And again, humidex values near the 30s. Long range forecast looking pretty nice across the St. John's and eastern Newfoundland area, where we will see temperatures between 25 and 27 degrees right through to Wednesday. Chances of some showers again through the overnight periods lingering in the morning, but then we'll see some clearing. Your overnight lows between 18 and 19 degrees. Now for central Newfoundland, a tad warmer. Even 29 might be a little too might be too little. Some of you may even see that 30-degree mark. And then for western Newfoundland, gray for the most part, where you're looking at the chance of showers Tuesday and Wednesday. Now for eastern Labrador, showers on Monday, nice on Tuesday. Hot on Tuesday, and then showers will return again for your Wednesday. And western Labrador at this point looking like you'll cool down as you get into midweek, but the sunshine should stick around. Our lovely weather photo today is of Jersey enjoying the sunset in Kelligrews. Kathy shared this great shot. Just look how happy Jersey looks among all those lupins.
What a great shot. It has so many wonderful things. The sunset, the ocean, a dog, the lupins. It's just fantastic.
It is. And if you're out and about this weekend, you want to share some of your photos with us, send them to nophotos@cbc.ca.
Yep, that is one happy dog for sure. All right, and we're happy now that the weekend is here. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you have a great weekend.
Good night.